Hello, I am Andy Hallbaker, Coldwell Banker Realty, Northern Colorado. Hey, it is October 2025, and everyone is wondering what is going on in the real estate market. I'm in Northern Colorado. I'm going to show you real quickly Fort Collins, Loveland, and Windsor, Colorado. Of course, I also service Greeley, the surrounding areas, Johnstown, Longmont, and etc. But we're going to look at Fort Collins, Loveland, and Windsor to talk about what's happening in Northern Colorado. The latest data is the data from September 2025. I'm filming this on October 3rd, 2025. So let's dive in here and take a look. Okay, so we're looking again, those three cities that I mentioned. Fort Collins is blue, Loveland is red, and Windsor is in the yellow color. We're looking at everything here, so I'm not breaking this down by price ranges or attached or detached. So your condos and everything else is going to be in here too. And then no square footage and bedrooms and all that stuff. So the number of new listings. So there are 309 new listings in Fort Collins during the month of September, 179 in Loveland and 117 in Windsor. That's a 4.5% increase in Windsor. It's a 21% increase in Fort Collins. So you can see a lot more homes are coming onto the market, even in September, which is kind of, the end of summer, kind of the end of the peak. So this is the total number of homes for sale. There are currently 20% more homes for sale in Fort Collins than a year ago, 15.6% more than a year ago in Loveland. So that's what we're seeing. There's this normal, this is a 3-year graph. So we're seeing that normal seasonality where it kind of peaks in the early, summer and then comes down the amount of inventory. So we're kind of, it's a normal thing, but look how much higher this is, 20% higher this year than a year ago. So that's what's going on there. The number of closed sales, now there's still a lot of transactions happening. 199 closed sales in September 25 in Fort Collins alone, 134 in Loveland, and 88 in Windsor. That's still around 20 to 28% increase over a year ago. So transactions are happening. It just feels like they're not because there's so much choice out there, so many homes on the market. So let's look at that. This is kind of the big thing everyone's looking at is the days on market. I'm going to look at average days on market. So you can see this really isn't that much higher. It's been pretty flat for even a couple of years. But now we're looking at, in Fort Collins, 65 days on market. It is a 3% increase from last year. Loveland at 73 days on market, a 7.4% increase from last year. Windsor down a little bit from a year ago, but 82 homes. 82 days on the market. So what does that mean? That means that there is now over 3 months supply, 3.1 in Fort Collins, 3.7 in Loveland, and 3.4 in Windsor. So that's it's funny because those are all so close, but Fort Collins is up 10% and Windsor's down 10% to get to these very close numbers. Pretty interesting. However, so basically what this means is if the number of closed sales that happened and the number of homes that are currently on the market, if we were able to close the same amount of sales in October, November, and December as we did in September, we would run through that inventory if no new homes come on the market. So that's kind of the thing is, of course, we're seeing that lots of new homes are coming on the market. But if you look at this 3-year line, the months, so, back in 22, it was weeks. There was 2 weeks of inventory, and now we're up to over 3 months of inventory. So that's kind of the news for home sellers is, hey, it's going to take some time. You're not going to sell your house in the first weekend like you could back in 21 and 22. Okay, so but what's this mean for sales price? So we're going to look at the median sales price for these communities. You can see it hops around. Windsor is kind of an interesting community because there's some new construction. There's a lot of high-end homes, but there's also some newer builders. So that's why you see the ups and downs there a little more than the other two communities. But anyways, let's look at the most current one for September 25. The median sales price in Fort Collins was $535,000. In Loveland, that's $495,000, and in Windsor, $590,000. So kind of interesting there. So Fort Collins' median sales price is down 3% from a year ago, and Loveland's is down 1% from a year ago. So when you hear like prices are coming down and there's these huge decreases, This is actually very little. If you look at a 3-year span, it's fairly flat, um, but not going up like we had seen in 2020 and 2021, where prices every month were going up. So that's the thing. It's just pretty much flat. Windsor's price is actually up 11% from a year ago. But like I said, Windsor kind of changes depending on who's building and what's happening at that moment. So the median percentage of the original asking price is about 98%, 97, 98%. So um, this isn't 100% accurate because you've got the uh, price reductions, but people are still getting 97, 98% of what they're asking for their house on average, basically the same, a little bit lower, 96%, 95.6. So that's what's going on with the percentage of the purchase price. The price per square foot, let's look at average for that. $284 per square foot in Fort Collins, Windsor $231 per square foot, and $245 in Loveland. So Loveland, that's a decrease in the price per square foot, but up slightly in Fort Collins and a pretty nice increase here in Windsor. Okay, so again, for the sellers, this is an important thing to know. We're going to look at average here, showings before it goes pending. So in September, for the homes that went under contract, in Loveland, it took 12.6 showings before you went under contract. In Fort Collins, it was 9.9 showings, and over 9 in Windsor also. So that's how many people are looking at your home before it goes under contract. So that doesn't sound too bad. You got to get a dozen people in your house in Loveland, 10 people in Fort Collins, and then on average, you're going to get an offer. However, the downside of that is here's how many showings each listing is getting. In Fort Collins, it was only 4 showings per month, 4.1 showings per month. Loveland 3.8 and Windsor 3.3. So I just said that it took 12 showings. If you're getting 4 showings a month, that's 3 months. That equals our amount roughly of the month's supply of inventory. And Windsor, kind of same thing, 3.3, but we were saying they needed 9, so still 3 months worth of showing. So why is a house not selling in a weekend? Why is a house not selling in 30 days even? It's because it takes 12 showings, 10 showings, and you're only getting 3 or 4. So that's what makes sense with that. There's a lot more we can dive into here, but I would like to keep these pretty short. If you have questions about buying a home or selling a home in Northern Colorado, I can definitely help you out with that. My name is Andy Hawbaker. I'm a realtor with Coldwell Banker Realty, Northern Colorado, and I'd be happy to help you. You can learn more at my website, which is www.andyhawbaker.com.